Hi, my name's Adam Dorrell. Welcome to our webinar today, From Surveys to Signals. We are really excited to show you what we've got today. We're going to do live demos on code that we've recently pushed. So we're really living by the seat of our pants at the moment. I'm really excited to show this to you, but first I'm going to introduce who's going to be on the call today. So today I'm delighted to be joined by my co-founder, Camilla Scholten, and Trishaala Chengappa, who's head of products and services, and they'll be taking us through the demo. Me, I'm Adam Dorrell. I'm the CEO and co-founder, and you know CustomerGauge. You've been with us for some time if you're a customer, and of course, there might be some future customers who are joining today. So who are we? Well, we are, as we like to say, we're B2B feedback meets revenue. Our mission is to help convert all that signal from customers, feedback and all of the voice out there into something that you can act on and then turn into revenue. And going beneath the cover a little bit, we are a B2B software house. And what we're delivering is net promoter scores and signals and everything, but we want to drive revenue and ROI in your business. And of course, the world is changing. There's a lot of AI agents that are out there at the moment, and that's what we're going to show you today. And we're working on CustomerGauge. Now, I'm going to take you back a few years before COVID. Back in 2019, we coined the phrase account experience. And I like to talk about this as a kind of account management married with customer experience. And this is unique to business accounts because you've got multiple contacts in the accounts and you've got revenue attached to it. It's quite different from the world of B2C, which is why we call it account experience. And it's this combination of the metrics that we put together that help deliver some value. But we've been, of course, working behind the scenes on AI. We did our big Gaige launch last September, and today we're bringing agents into the mix. So I'm delighted to talk about the launch of Account Experience 2.0. Expanding on this a little bit, you'll know the CustomerGauge platform with its account native data model and its revenue linked information in there. You'd probably also be familiar with our methodology, the one that's nearly 20 years in the making. Yes, we really are that old. With our millions of data points and benchmarks, and this, what we call a success playbook, which helps you turn all of this information into return on investment. And we're extending this ecosystem today with AI agents that will listen and understand to your all of that signal at account scale. So I'd like to introduce you to the agentic ecosystem. So let's meet the agent ecosystem. You'll probably be familiar with some of the things that we launched. Back in September, we launched our analytics agent, which is a full LLM in CustomerGauge with the power of Claude or ChatGPT to help you analyze all of the data that's in there, to ask questions in plain language and get graphs and information about your program. For those who are afraid to follow up on feedback, to be honest, who is not, we have this loop agent, which suggests answers that help you get back and close the loop with your customers. And then if you're going into a meeting, you'll want to get some insights out of it and get the summary agent to work so you're ready for your quarterly business review. And then the fifth agent that we've got on the screen here is the interview agent, which is a natural voice interview bot that just sits on the top of a normal survey that will quiz your client or customer in a natural way to get some real meaning out of this. And of course, you're able to get the transcript out and the voice out. But let's focus on that transcript that comes out, because in a way, that's the thing that powers our thing we're talking about today. So meet the signal intelligence agents, which completes our agent ecosystem for now. And this is able to turn unstructured data, text data, into some real meaning. And this is what we're really excited to show you today, the signal intelligence agent. So where does this come from? Well, it's going to be from text message or QBR. Actually, I'm going to let Camilla and Trish tell you more about that. But what comes out of this is themes, tags, and the signals. Seeing if you can renew a customer, or maybe there's a churn risk. And this is unique, generates an NPS score. And that's linked to accounts, monetization, and action triggered. It's fully scalable. You can do this with all of the information in your business. And let's think about that. There are two kinds of feedback. There's the feedback that your customer chooses to give you. This is the sort of explicit feedback that comes from asking a survey. Please tell us about this. And by the way, there will still be a place for this in future programs because it's a really explicit ask. Please tell me about this. You can get an answer back. But then there is what we call signal. And you can take intelligence from this because your customer is giving you information all the time. That's right, in emails or tickets and all of those reviews that are out there. And this is the dark matter that you're not looking at today. Imagine what it's going to look like when you can put all these together. But we've been in business a long time. It's important that we stick to our principles. So we had some design principles when it came to this. When we did our AI work on this, we had to make sure that you could take actions out of this and that it was also linked to accounts that had revenue on this. And this is important because it means that whatever signal comes back, you're able to link it to the factors that give you lift or drag in your business. That's right. So you're going to get the monetization out of this. And you can use our framework that's already existing in CustomerGauge to close the loop. That was a really important thing. And fun fact, or maybe scary fact, is that not many businesses succeed in connecting CX programs to revenue. In fact, I'm giving you a sneak preview of our book that we're launching in 2 weeks' time, our new benchmarks book. Less than 10% of businesses are successful about tying CX to revenue. The other design principle was really important to us was to make sure that we got it accurate, because you can't have false positives or false negatives. You'll soon get smoked out by your team, and you don't want to be able to lose accounts that you're missing. And comments are literally messy. They're random. There's also a systematic bias in there and just mixed signals. So making sense of that was really important. Well, how did we do? 6 months in the making, we cracked it with signal intelligence. Because what we were able to do is train the best AI systems of millions of real net promoter scores and comments. So when you take this on, it's ready to go out of the box with a high degree of accuracy. But we also know that customers have different sources or segments of data, and that cultural differences make a big impact. We know this from working in Japan, for example, where the net promoter score is routinely much lower than us in the West. So the system will learn from each customer and each segment's views on this, and it improves accuracy over time. We're really proud of this. We took a lot of time making this work. And of course, you can get a lot of data outside Net Promoter. There's intention to buy, innovation, and so on. But now the moment I know you're waiting for. I'd like to hand over to my co-presenters, to Camilla and Trish, to talk about this. Camilla, over to you.
Thank you so much, Adam. We were eagerly waiting for you to hand the mic to us. It's odd. I'm here now with Trish. Normally, I am doing this presentation with you right next to me. It looked a bit like you were beaming from up above. But that is probably quite a good way into this, because we feel that technology is finally catching up with our vision of making sure that you can capture as much intelligence, signal, feedback from your customers. It's critical to the relationship. So we will show you something that we launched yesterday, and we've chosen 3 live demonstrations. Trish, are you nervous?
A little bit.
And so Trish will take you through an example where you have an email from a customer. For example, you were closing the loop, and there's a sort of an email thread, and you want to make sense of it because you want to kind of like see how that impacts loyalty and whether you did a good job. The second scenario, Trish, is one, so the email is kind of simple. That's where we start. But then we look into a different scenario where, for example, I have that. You do a big business review, a QBR. They tend to be lengthier. Recording them is quite normal, so you get normally quite a vast transcript to see if our signals can actually handle that and make sense of that type of voluminous, unstructured data. And the third one, you're going to top it off with something even bigger, which is a completely different touch point. Actually, a touch point that you would normally send a survey after completion.
Correct.
Which is a ticketing environment where you collect all your support performance data. And that tends to be in the thousands of different interactions with multiple different customers. And you're going to show us all of that today. So,
Yes.
Trish, are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Take it away.
Thank you, Camilla. So as you said, the first example is a simple email interaction. We're actually going to use a product person interacting with a customer. And it's a bit of a difficult one because the customer had a bit of frustration. I want to understand from this how that engagement and what that signal comes back as. So I'm just going to copy paste it into Gaige and ask Gaige to help me understand the signal in terms of NPS. We're going to use a standard relationship structure here, and we're going to get the NPS. We're going to look at some comments, and even more, we're going to get to our best practice drivers. We're really going to understand the root cause analysis, because this is when you can also correlate it back to explicit customer feedback. Gaige is going to look at this and provide this output back for us that we've picked. And this is all in real time. So we've just fed in the email. Gaige is going to synthesize, and it's going to give us a preview of what Gaige found in that back and forth. It's not a single interaction. It's actually multiple interactions over days in that email thread. You can see, come back instantaneously. It's a score of 5. I think I almost got that from the email because I knew that there was a frustration. But what Gaige also did was give me a really quick summary of what that interaction was across all of those emails. And it also distilled it down to some key drivers that it's observed. I'm going to go ahead and accept this because I also want to raise this back and put it back against the rest of the data. But before we do that, Gaige is actually going to help me detect a lot of the segmentation info because we want to tie it back to people, to accounts, and we want to be able to close the loop. So Gaige is scanning through the data now, and it's going to come back and give me a set of recommendations. I can, of course, add to it, but at least what this allows me to do is act on it. It's not an anonymous piece of feedback, and it's not just signals being synthesized for the sake of it. This is fantastic. It knows who the account manager is because that's the engagement, the account name, job level, title, everything that it's detected from that email interaction. We're going to save this and then see what we can do with this inside of the CustomerGauge platform. And I just want to remind you, we're doing all of this live, and CustomerGauge is synthesizing and working with us. So here you can see we instantly created a response engagement that you can actually work with. It's detected and given me a score of 5. It's summarized the issue, but it's also given all of the tags from a text and sentiment analysis perspective. And it's gone a step further and also categorized the drivers for me. So now we can also see both from an explicit customer feedback what the drivers are, and also from a signal perspective what the drivers are. But the most important part, and I think you're waiting for this, is the action. I can see that I've had multiple interactions with Dana, so I can see the past has also not been great. So we've got 2 interactions and engagements here. But if we can move to the close the loop bit, I think that's what we want to really understand is how are we going to be able to act on it? The responses come in real time now, 50 seconds ago. The case is already assigned to the account manager to work on. An email alert has been triggered, and Gaige has also synthesized it and given me a quick follow-up message that I can use, or the account manager can use, to go back with the customer. This is really next level. But the next example...
Can I just quickly, before you move into the next example, this is the one that's one email. That's what we've just seen, right? And what I love, and I just want to really emphasize it, it follows the same structure that you're used to. You can layer it on top of your explicit feedback. So that's what you've just shown, like there have been multiple interactions.
Yes. And you can actually tie it back right to the account, which is where I wanted to show, and the dollar value that's associated with that account. So what we've done now is layered both the customer feedback and the signal intelligence into one account view to be with the dollar value and also all of the engagement across that account, which is now not sitting in isolation in terms of like just research, but it moves it into actionable information that you can use for revenue generation.
Nice. And I think what's really great about it is it does follow our best practice playbook. Everything always needs to be correlatable and returning back into revenue.
Yes.
You need to be able to act on the feedback that you're getting because that's critical for the relationship and also avoiding churn or not addressing any issues. But Trish, we chose Net Promoter. Why is Net Promoter important in this?
In this particular situation, I think Net Promoter is one of the best signals. It's great, and it's the leading indicator when you tie it back to revenue. You're able to monetize it, as we've demonstrated. You're able to benchmark it across the other feedback points that you're collecting, so it doesn't sit in isolation. And I think it also is action-driven. So I think these are the three key areas where we still believe that NPS gives you a really good signal. You can absolutely use CSAT, CES rating. The platform is designed to help you synthesize all of it, and the next couple of examples will show you that. But it is a really good indicator to connect it back into the action-oriented ecosystem.
I like that. And what I also, we didn't even touch upon that, but it tags, you mentioned that, but it color codes the tag. So it's very intuitive for other people that have to close the loop, whether it's positive or negative, because sometimes in a trail, you can also have a mixed bag. In this case, it wasn't. It was all red, all negative. But sometimes people can give you a positive comment as well as some negative feedback.
Yes.
That's what you also have been able to extract from this
and act on it.
And so if Net Promoter is so important and it ties to closing the loop revenue, it's got to be accurate, right? So how did you do that?
Well, as Adam shared earlier, this is something that we've learned over the last 20 years of being here. We've understood what it can do, but also leveraged all of those millions of data points that we've learned from to get to what would be a good calibration for these scores. And it'll be something that we continue to learn on and evolve as the ecosystem grows, but that's really the background from where we came. And we don't want to give any false positives or false negatives, because you are triggering actions at the back of it. And the last thing you want is to be sending a lot of alerts across the org around it.
That would also be a killer for culture, right? Yeah. Thank you. So what's next?
We're going to do the next example, which is a QBR. And in this case, we're actually going to do a bulk upload. So we did a single record kind of example in the first one. We're going to be throwing in about 20 QBR transcripts that we've downloaded from a system like Gong or Teams. It's long and lengthy because, you know, these QBRs typically take about 25 minutes or even an hour. So the transcripts are also long, and you can see that example. We're going to put that all into Gaige and see how Gaige synthesizes it. One of the differences here, Camilla, is we've actually gone a bit beyond the traditional NPS comment and drivers. We've expanded the question model that we've used here to get that analysis. And you can, because you're sending it to our AI agent that does not have fatigue. It can actually look through and give you all of this intelligence. So was there a renewal intent? Was there a churn signal? You can pick up all of this in addition to the NPS, and that's what really makes the difference here. So with all of that data that you're putting through, you can not only get the signal with the NPS, but you can also get all of those other actionable informations. And you can see it's come through all in real time. We're going to just click and drill down and find one example that we would like to pick on here. So if you drill down into that particular one, you can see that we've got a score of 7 from this. It just came through 12 seconds ago, and Gaige is still loading in the other responses that we put in. Here, the tags are, as you called out, there's a mixture in terms of the sentiment. There's some that's neutral, there's some that's positive, like the business goals, but there's also some frustration areas like the training or the resolution time. There's measurable ROI that came through that QBR transcript as well. And I think the part that I was also talking about is the depth of the questions that you can extract from this. You can really understand if there was an account trajectory there, is there a likely renewal? All of that intel you put in here, you can actually act on, but also use it for really building that relationship back with that customer, but also arming your teams with intelligence that's beyond just the little bit that they normally operate with.
I really love that. Also, because in a case of a QBR or a business review, and you've just mentioned that, you talk about renewals, you really want to find out whether somebody's a promoter, because we also know that promoters are 2 to 3 times more likely to renew or even to grow or buy more from you. So
Yeah.
this has got an immediate tie to some business value.
Yeah.
The question I have, because you showed we uploaded a CSV file here.
Yes.
Are there other ways that you could get this data into our system?
Absolutely. We can do a single one, as we showed. We can do the CSV, but we can also integrate with our API connectors. We've got out-of-the-box connectors that kind of support most of those systems that you would typically use. And right at the back of an interaction, you can send that to us. We're not demoing it here because those are not typically very exciting to show on screen. But yes, right after this, with today's launch, we will also make that publicly available on our knowledge base for customers to be able to look into it and integrate.
So then it completely becomes part of everything that you do with the reach out, signals, they all live in the same system. You can close a loop on them.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Okay, well, I think we need to go on to the next one.
Yes, our last use case for today is in the support space. And as you clearly said, support ecosystem has thousands of interactions. And each kind of support ticket also has multiple interactions before an issue can get resolved. And typically, you could send a survey at the back of a support ticket because you want to understand how that interaction went. Here, what we're demonstrating to you is how can you also extract signal from all of that interactions, but we're also going a little bit further from it, and we're looking at the quality audit space. And this is where we're actually co-creating with a customer in the quality audit space on how can you derive more intelligence that you can use to not only help your teams get better, but also provide a much better experience to your customers in that engagement they're having with you. You can see that we've pushed through all of those support histories. Gaige has synthesized it. Let's go into an example because you can also see all of the ratings that you can derive from it. Again, here we've used a question set, almost 31 questions to kind of get that output from it. And again, you can do it because you're not asking customers these questions. It's all in that interaction that they've had, whether the agent was empathetic, whether there was a responsiveness element. Typically, you would ask the customer to rate all of this, and that can get quite tedious. So here you can see this was an 8 in terms of the engagement. Again, there is the comment, but I think the important part there is all of that additional wealth of info you can get right from the root causes, whether there was a sentiment shift, what is the rating evidence. You can get the AI to rate the agent on different engagement parameters. We've also looked at the industry standards like the rater scale, the 5 whys. We've really gone through this with a lot of thought process behind it.
And science.
And we're really, really excited to be able to further evolve this space as we brought into CustomerGauge. And I think the last bit I wanted to just show you before we go into questions is we're working on some dashboards that can also bring the QA part, the quality assurance part out. This is where we're really looking at the co-creation bit. So if you've got customers that are interested, we'd love to further evolve on this part.
Thank you. Was that it?
Yes.
Okay. So I love actually the co-creation. This is also something I think that we've been doing with a lot of our customers. And we just want to make sure that we also emphasize that these things get built and get better with use cases,
Correct.
right? This is where we get our excitement from as well. So we have shown you our latest agent. Oh, I almost thought when Adam was introducing the agents, he was referring to us. But this is our last addition to the team of agents that we've got. And I think the key reason why we did that is because we've always felt your customers are telling you a lot of times how they're feeling about you, how you're performing, how safe your business is with them. But we didn't really have a good way of qualitatively match that up with this explicit bit of feedback. We now do. We've shown sort of like a transcript from an engagement in an email. It's sort of that could be a call or a meeting transcript. Support tickets was the last one that's like very voluminous and sort of that scours for a different kind of even quality audit, as you called it out. There are, of course, external reviews that you can look for. So it can really take sort of non-obvious customer feedback data, because we use G2 Crowd. That's where a lot of our customers give us feedback, but we would never have put it into CustomerGauge. Now we can. Unbelievable. But also your CRM entries, right? Could you give us an example of that? We've got a lot of examples here on this slide, but just call out one.
So if you've got a lot of your engagement activities also with your customer do get registered in your CRM. You can integrate that with us, and as those activities come through, you can push them into CustomerGauge to get a synthesis and a signal element from it. And as you called out, we can do this at scale. So it's not about the 1 record or the 20 records. This is about doing it across millions of interactions that happen on an everyday basis with your customers.
Yeah. And here they are again, just to make sure that everybody understands what's available to you. So we have, as Adam illustrated, an interview agent. This is where you can start to talk to your customers and capture already this slightly more unstructured conversation, using the same logic to make sure that it's identifiable, it's attached to a customer. You can look at the responses over time, because that's another very important part of doing this on a regular basis. The insight agent, where you extract what's really going on, and where it also gives you some tips as to what you should be doing next. We have the analytics, the account summary, we have the closing the loop, where it really literally helps you do a good job of it if you want to, or that's where we can start to automate closing the loop with customers if it makes sense and if it's time efficient. And what we've shown you today is our signal intelligence agent, right? I think that was it. That's a lot to go through, but we always want to make sure that we have some time for any questions, as this is also, again, then proving that we're doing this live. And I believe, Adam, you are going to be our buddy to take us through some of the questions that we've been collecting.
Well, first thing I'd love to say is how well I thought you did that demo and how smooth it was. I want to congratulate you doing it, and also Fabian in the background for working the mouse. That was great. In fact, one of the things that we saw, it was almost too fast. And Tosha from Live Oak said, just to make sure I'm following, you took an email, uploaded it to Gaige, and created a survey response. So that's what you did, isn't it? Very quick. You copied and pasted that text. Is that right, Trish?
That's correct. We just copied and pasted that text from a live email, put it into that box, and asked Gaige to synthesize it for us.
Fantastic. By the way, while you're on here, we've got maybe another 5 minutes for questions. Please put your question in the chat and I'll try and answer it with Trish and Camilla. But there's one thing I just want to follow up on that point from Tosha with. So it comes into the system and it looks like a survey response, but you're reporting on it in a different way, right? How does it show up in the system?
So it shows up in the system with the output that you'd like it to look into for you. It could be on NPS and it could be with comments, but as we shared, you can go through a whole list of it. It does make it a response signal, because that's when you can also trigger all of the workflow alerts that you typically would use. You can extract it via an API back into your data lakes and integrate it into your CRMs as well to give this level of intelligence back to your team in a digestible manner that they can actually act on. So it really goes through the entire ecosystem that you are used to using.
Now, this is all about uncovering all of that signal intelligence. So Hans, hi Hans, how you doing? Has put a very intelligent question in the chat, which is like, does this score that comes from it, does that impact the overall company score? I'm going to guess at this. I'm guessing that if you put them together, you can, but you can separate the explicit score from surveys with the signal score separate, right? Is that right, Trish?
That is absolutely correct. You can look at it together if that's what you want, but you can also have them side by side where you can compare one against the other.
Yeah. Okay. And maybe at an account level, it makes sense to have it combined. Yeah. And maybe on an overall company performance, it makes sense to separate them. There are many ways that you can slice the data.
And just going through some of the questions here, we had a kind of
Can I
one
just
which
quickly
state-
answer Hans? Yes, you can test this with us.
Well, I'll come on to that in a few minutes. Just going through some of the housekeeping things. We had a question: is there a recording available of this? Yes, if you've registered, we'll make the recording available to you later on. Of course, we'll do that. Another great question from Hans, who's really on fire today, actually, who says, who adds the questions? How do we come up with a question model? Now, Trish, I know we've got a few standard models out there. Can you talk about that and maybe how people can tailor it to their needs?
We've got standard models that we can, of course, assist you with, the best practices, but it's fully configurable. This is where we work with you, but you also have the access inside of the platform to direct what the output you would like Gaige to provide you with for that particular synthesis. It can vary for every conversation type. So you can have a different output model for support versus your QBRs versus your CRM integration activities. But every one of these things you've got full control over in the platform to direct Gaige on how you want that.
Yeah, I'm just going to put some more into that because I was really delighted to be involved in one of the models that came from Vanessa's on. But Vanessa prompted us, could we look at tickets? So thank you for that great demo. But that whole set of 20 to 30 data points that we're trying to pull out of it, I'm guessing you could look for specific things, couldn't you? Like if you had a, you could also say, is anybody talking about signal intelligence? That would be one thing that you could pull out of a conversation, right?
Yes, you can. You can ask Gaige to harvest any kind of intelligence that you'd like, and we just have to direct it. And you can also, of course, always evolve with it. So it's not that you use it today and that's what is set, because you've got controls and we are here to assist. We would be able to tell exactly what you'd like to get intelligence on. We, of course, recommend it for it to be actionable so that you can take it back and, of course, act on it. But in terms of getting that intelligence, it's really powerful.
Okay, I've got a tricky question here, Trish and Camilla, for you now. So this is about data privacy and compliance. We sit in the EU here. Some of our clients are also in the European Union. How does this stack up against the EU privacy laws? Can you tell us?
I think you should take it, but yes, go.
CustomerGauge has built this with all of the ecosystem that you're already using and leveraging. It sits on our hosted within our own Amazon ecosystem, and it follows all of the data processes that you have signed up for with us. It gets the data access restrictions. We're not, sharing your data or training on your intelligence information that you're providing to us. All of those principles that we follow for all of the AI capabilities that we offer apply here as well. And if you're hosted in the EU, it's also fully GDPR compliant.
Yeah. I mean, it just literally follows everything that we release. Yeah. There is no discrepancy with our regular protocols here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Now I'm going to ask one that is not on the list. There's a few ones. Hans is on fire, and I'll take the one with Hans offline with
this
that
is
one.
many question Hans.
But I think this is great. Big $64,000 question is, when is it available and how can I switch this on if I'm a CustomerGauge client?
I think we've trailed that information a little bit already throughout this presentation, but Trish, it's available right now.
It is available right now. All you need to do is contact your account manager if you want it activated so you can leverage it in your system. It's available now.
Okay, that's great. And how do we then, if I'm a customer, how do I pay for this? Is it free? Is it an extra charge? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, you do need AI credits for it. So that would be a requirement to really leverage it. But I think that is exactly what you can ask your account manager. For those of customers of ours out there, you know who to get in touch with. So yeah, very easy.
Okay, I think we've run out of the question set there, and we are about ready to go. A couple of things. If you are a future client of CustomerGauge, of course, you can go to the website. There's a chat bot on there. You can contact our team, and Maria and the team will be there waiting for you. Hey, I just want to say thank you so much, Camilla and Trishaala, for a great presentation today. So I'm going to sum up about this. I'm really excited about where we're heading with this. I mean, for years, these signals existed across all of the conversations that you're having with customers out there, all of those support interactions. And we saw those really good examples today. But the technology really wasn't there to extract this. And we know we've been along that journey from everything we've tried, like Account Vitals and early, text analytics. But it's a different landscape today, thanks to the technology that's available. So we can capture all of this signal from all those places that were difficult or maybe impossible and bring them together in one place. And that means you can have a single view of your customer experience with all the good stuff that CustomerGauge provides, like revenue, being able to close the loop on those actions. So we think it's a really interesting place to be to improve your customer relationships. Now, if you've been watching this, you might be thinking, is this the end of surveys? It's a really good question. We don't think it's the end of surveys, or at least not entirely. We know that surveys are incredibly valuable. They're that explicit signal that allows you to ask a customer and get information back from them. But it may mean that some forms of surveys become less necessary because you've got a lot of data and all of those conversations. You might not always need to ask those explicit Net Promoter surveys. We'll see. We'll certainly continue providing the technology to do this. And ultimately, this is about helping you get more customer insights from more customers, more of your book of business, and turning those insights into actions. We're really excited about what's possible and what capability is ready, and we'd love to take you on this journey today. It's ready to go if you're listening. Give us some feedback. We'd like to take you forward on it. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you really soon.